Now, I'm not gonna get too deep, but I'm gonna get a little real with y'all because I think it's important to just be transparent. All right. So one, of course, I'm gonna tell you that all men do not cheat, and I genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that. I'm not just saying it to make it sound good to you or to just throw the wool over your eyes. No, no. I have met men, tons of men, who are really about being committed, loyal, who have no desire to be running around and dealing with this one and that one. They're simply not wired for it. All right. A lot of men, I honestly would argue the majority of men, all right, are wired in a way that if they're getting what they need, they're good. They're not going nowhere else. All right. Now we can argue about and discuss the idea of, are they actually getting what they need? What is it that men need? That whole discussion, because I think that sometimes, if I'm being, again, I'm keeping it real with y'all, there are situations where the woman says, well, I did everything for him. But in reality, if you dig into the situation, what she was doing for him wasn't actually what he was asking for, what he needed. And that disconnect can start to open all kinds of doors. Now, let me make clear, again, I am not making excuses or validating. I'm explaining to y'all so you guys have clarity on this situation. But ultimately, there's just men who just really, they're not into that. But I'm not going to act like there isn't a segment of men. And again, I would argue this is a minority in compared to those men who, if they're getting what they need, they're good. There are men who their mindset is cheating is a way of life. It's just what they do. It may be a little bit cultural. It may be some internal wiring. Again, it's a deeper discussion we'll need to have. But I am starting to observe where some men are wired in a way that it makes it very difficult for them to be monogamous. Or they just flat out reject it. They're just like, no, I don't care. It's not part of what they subscribe to. But again, don't be fooled by that segment of men and projecting onto all men. It isn't all men. Listen, there are tons of stories of men who have gotten not just neglected in their relationship, abused by their woman, treated poor. I mean, you name it. It's situations that if I told you about, you'd be like, I wouldn't blame him if he cheated. I'm not saying it's ever okay. I'm just saying that some situations are so bad, even you as a woman would be like, man, okay, I kind of understand it. And I know, of course, the answer is always just leave if you're not being treated right. But, it gets a lot more difficult. And again, we'll say that for a different video. But the point is, not all men cheat. But if you start to believe that, then again, it causes you to feel like, what's the point of this dating? What's the point of these relationships if I'm never going to get a faithful man? But you can get a faithful man. But I'm going to say this. I didn't want to say it. Lord, I didn't want to say it. But I'm gonna say it. It's hitting my spirit again. Sometimes there's a trade-off. I'm just saying sometimes there's a trade-off. And what I mean by that is this. I don't want to flat out make this like an absolute. But I will say that, let's say, for example, you desire, and this is just an example, this is not saying all men in this field act this way, all right? But let's say you desire a musician, an artist who's always on the road, okay? And he's not just a musician. Let's add more to it. He's a good-looking musician. He's a successful musician. And he's very masculine, all right? Now, again, I'm not saying all men like this will cheat, but I'm going to say that, listen, that guy in that situation is going to have a harder time. And if you're like, well, I have to have this specific type of guy, then you have to understand that there's certain pitfalls or struggles, obstacles that may come with that, right? So when I say there's a trade-off, what I mean is the type of guy who is going to be more capable of being monogamous and faithful may be in a different box that you're not looking at. that maybe you haven't considered. And again, I know I'm being kind of vague. This is something that we got to dive a lot deeper in, and I'm trying to watch how I navigate this topic right now. But ultimately, yeah, we're gonna leave that alone. The bottom line is, not all men cheat. Get it out of your head. You can have a relationship with a man who will be faithful to you and monogamous and want to be with only you. That does exist out there in the world. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So listen, some men are stingy, all right? And the reason for the stinginess could be kind of what I mentioned before in the previous point, as far as one, they're just not that serious about you to even allow themselves to be generous, or they've been burnt before.